So in this video, we're going to take a look at something very specific. In our game world here, I'd like to put some text in here so that we can see this. And this will make it a lot easier to implement something like the score system later on, because we'll need to somehow show how much we scored throughout the game. So in this case, there's a few things that we need for text. So we'll need some sort of font resource. And also then we'll use this SF text type to actually render out this text. This is entirely SFML specific, so nothing to do with Box 2D. And I have here in this assets directory, there's a font file. So I'll add this to the resources as well in the download. And for this to work, the path that we use to refer to this font needs to live inside of the directory where the executable is ran from. So in this case, when CMake is going to build this project, it's going to create this binary down here, this Pong clone binary. And then in there, I have this assets with the font in there. So it's pretty much just copied over, but this is a temporary directory. And in order to do that with CLion, I have this shell script. It simply says to copy this directory into this other directory. So this will take care of copying it over. And then this is a configuration. With my Pong clone project here, there's this before launch options. So it's going to build it before it launches this executable. But then also I've added this run this script. So you can just click this add button and then select the configuration to run. If I do that, I can actually get rid of this entire thing. And then if I run this again, so let's reload the project, right? That'll take care of creating the CMake debug directory. If I run this and we take a look at this, there we see my font. Okay, great. So with SFML, how do we load this font and then render out some text? So the first thing we need to do is say SF font. This is a type. I'll just call this font. Then on this font type, we have a method called open from file. So we can give it a file path, and then that will load our font. So in this case, it's a string value, and then we give it the path it needs to take from this directory where this code is going to be executed from, all the way through to the file. So this is going to go through assets, and then the thing is called font.ttf. Now I am getting some sort of warning here. It says unused result. This thing returns a Boolean to tell me whether or not this worked. So we can check this. So if not the font loaded, we can either do some fallback or just not display any text. But in this case, I'm simply going to output that I failed to load the font and then terminate the program. I don't even want to deal with it. This should work because the path resolves. Up next is an SF text object. I'll call this my score text, like this. Right, and then up next is an SF text object. So I'll call this my score text. And then in the constructor here, we have this variant where we give it a font object. So I'll just load that up with my font. There is another argument in here for the initial string. So we can just say score equals 0. Then we have score text.set fill color. And for this one, I'll say SF color. Let's go with green. The score text does have a method for setting the text. So we can set the string. That's the method name. But because we've already set it here, I don't need to call this right now. There's also a set position. So this will put it somewhere on our screen. And this is going to be an SF vector. The origin of this text is again at the top left corner, and I actually want to keep it that way so that I can position it at 0 on the X, and then let's put it on 50 on the Y, and that should pretty much do it. We set up the fill color and the position. Now this is a drawable, so we can go down to our render loop and then say window.draw, and give it the score text. And that's it. Let's run this. It tells me that the score is 0. So now we have a font in here.